let's get to something important. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or, well, I can't even say she's important, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Did you hear the latest thing about her?
I did, yes.
Okay. So give us a summary real quick.
She compared our situation at the border to concentration camps.
Okay, we're talking about the southern border.
Yeah.
And so she's talking about detention centers.
Mm-hmm.
And just so people can know what we're talking about here, I want you to see. She is under fire. This is an article that came from Real Clear Politics on June, I believe it was June 21st. And it's AOC under fire for insane Holocaust comparison, written by Adriana Cohen. And essentially, and it starts off, I think it starts off very strong, and I'll read that to you. I don't have my glasses, so bear with me, folks. No. The article starts off, quote, "No, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, U.S. detention centers being used as a temporary holding facilities for thousands of migrants violating U.S. Customs and Immigration's laws at the southern border are not concentration camps like ones used by Nazis during the Holocaust. Far from it." So let's be very clear here. It's real straightforward. I don't think this is a hard thing to figure out. That if concentration camps, as I said before, millions of people, millions, were killed in concentration camps. Jews, gypsies, all the undesirables of the Nazi regime. When you make a comparison to one of the worst, most despicable forms of government that has existed on the face of the earth, responsible for tens of millions of people being killed, you need to make sure you got it right. That this is a serious issue. I think that's a fair thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And she's saying that, well, detention centers were people who have broken into the United States, violated our laws, and have been captured or detained and held until they are processed, which then normally means they get to enter our country still illegally, and they get to roam around. And, you know, you see places like Nancy Pelosi in San Francisco rejecting them from coming to California into their districts, but they want them to go after everyone else's district, but they're still illegal. These people are fine. They're healthy. Well, as healthy as you can be after traveling 1,200 miles or more, 2,500 miles, across sometimes several countries to go through our desert without food, without water, without proper clothing, hauling children with you. They're as healthy as can be in that case. Then, yeah, I don't think that's called a concentration camp. And I should add, you did an article on this.
Mm-hmm.
Many of these countries they're escaping from, like Venezuela, there's something going on. What disease is that in Venezuela?
Measles and mumps.
Measles and mumps. In 1 year have gone up, how many cases?
Pretty much completely. I mean, Brazil has completely gone up from 0 cases to like 1,000 or...
No, I think your article quoted 10,000 cases in Brazil and 6,500 cases in Venezuela, where most of the latest 15,000 number caravans have been coming up from, traveling 2,500 miles to go through California's wall and to get into the United States. And they get detained so that they can be sure that they're not spreading disease, which they have, and there has been on that. But we did do that in a previous episode. So how does she come up and say this is a concentration camp?
I have no clue. It's like every week she feels the need to say something controversial to try to get into the headlines and stay relevant.
Wasn't there some group that took her on about this?
It was the Holocaust Museum itself.
The Holocaust Museum itself, Holocaust survivor, invited her to go to a concentration camp to learn about the Holocaust so that she doesn't make these stupid, inane statements, and she denied it.
Yeah,
Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. And I know you got the Twitter, so you can see it a lot faster than I can. But
Yeah.
I remember seeing that article, and she's denied it. She doesn't want to go. I believe that was reported by the Daily Wire. Mm-hmm. Am I right?
I believe so. Let me pull up the Daily Wire.
If I'm getting it wrong, please let me know.
Absolutely.
Because we try to make sure. But I believe the article is from the Daily Wire that she was invited to go to the concentration camp to actually see what a concentration camp is versus a luxury tent with full power, with bathroom facilities. That's, it's more comfortable than my house and most people's houses. And it's, sanitary. And people have room and space. And they take up so much space that we have to keep expanding them because we have record levels of illegal aliens breaking into our country. And let's get this right. They're not migrants. They are illegal aliens. That is the proper legal term. They are alien to the United States. They are breaking our law, entering our country. This is an illegal alien entry. This is breaking the law. And we treat them for breaking our law. We give them a proper detention, health care, and release them into our nation. There's a meme that's on Facebook, which I didn't get a chance to get the image, but it was a political cartoon by one of the more famous people that says, if this is a concentration camp, the detention centers in the United States, then this is the first time in the history of the world that people are breaking into concentration camps rather than trying to get out. Because we have, 75,000 a month? Is that right? Mm-hmm. 75,000 a month trying to enter the United States illegally and being caught and put into detention centers, and they keep coming. If it's a concentration camp, it must be the best one you've ever seen. And this is why when she says something stupid, and this is stupid, that there is comparing a detention center to a concentration camp, that's why she gets the Game of Thrones shame. That's why she is out of her mind. She is stupid, and she is sensationalizing this. She is trying to make this emotional, to drive people to just get off to get emotional and not think, what is she actually saying and what kind of damage she is doing. Think about every single illegal. If you thought that if you got caught, I'm going to, okay.
Specifically invited her out to Poland and show her around, to show her all the atrocities and what actually happened.
I think the people of Poland would have a very clear idea of what a concentration camp is. Mm-hmm. And if they thought it was at all correct, they would be supporting that.
Yeah. It's
pretty safe to say. So, okay, and I stand corrected. I want to make sure I got it right. That's why I asked you to double check.
Yep.
I knew I saw the story, but I didn't remember the story. But that's why we check these things, to make sure we're giving you the most accurate information. You may not agree, but this is how we're getting to this. And I have to tell you, if you go down the line, Anthony Brindisi, he didn't do the bill. I showed you the bill. You can look it up on congress.gov yourself. He has nothing to do with it. He doesn't deserve credit for it. Taking credit for someone else's work, that's fraud. But in my opinion, that's fraud. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying that a detention center is a concentration camp, that's not only fraudulent, that is disrespectful. And more importantly, or equally as importantly, is this could cause danger with those border agents, anyone, ICE, and all the other law enforcement officials, when they try and detain these people, if they're getting the message that they're going to be killed for entering the United States, that means that they will defend themselves, as anyone would, because you don't want to get killed. No one wants to go to a concentration camp where they would be killed, and therefore they're going to fight, and that means they're going to endanger lives. And if any border agent is harmed because of what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying and hyping up the tensions at the border, then she should be held legally liable, in my opinion. What do you think?
I completely agree, because her words are having an impact. People are, threatening ICE and everything like that, calling for online specifically. I know Steven Crowder, the comedian, did a video where he confronted someone who called for death threats not only against him, but ICE. And so these things are happening. I mean, these people are trying to get agents trying to protect our country injured.
Yeah, it was just a year ago that someone doxed the members of ICE and released all of their, and border agents, and released their addresses, their names, where their families could be reached to be able to harm them. So let's not forget, that was about a year, 2 years ago. I forget the exact date. So this is part of that dangerous mentality out there. And people say, well, Alexandria Ocasio, she's not so bad. This is dangerous. It's consequences. These are dominoes, folks. And when you push one of these dominoes, they keep falling. And I know no one's really talking about, gee, well, what's so bad about that? Yes, it's bad to compare it to Nazis. It's bad because it endangers people's lives. When people rightly would fight against going to a concentration camp, which I would defend every day. But if you think you're going to a concentration camp, I say it again for the third time, people will defend themselves if they believe that's what the case is, because they are afraid of getting killed, which means they're going to fight our law enforcement agents who do everything they can to take these people in peaceably, to give them better health care, and to save them from doing a 2,500-mile trek through desert and countries without food, clothing, jobs, anything, and try and save their lives with proper health care, which sometimes doesn't work because children die in these events because of what their parents have subjected them to, which is bad parenting, which I think Democrats are against, right? They're against that, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't seem to be against it when it's an illegal alien. It's okay to take your kid 2,500 miles without food or clothing, mostly walking, and run them across a desert. That's okay because they're illegal aliens, so they can do that. But if you try and take your kid, not feed them for a day, don't give them proper clothing for a day, you're going to be in trouble, and the police will try and arrest you because Democrats hate that. This is what inflames me, folks. It leaves me livid. But I want to keep going.